Welcome to day 60, GC 365. Man, we're glad you joined us. This is a great time to read the one-year Bible. And I have with me today Dominic Roybal. He's a guest. He's my guest to talk about today's reading. And Dominic, you and I started this journey January 1 with our small group. What was that like for you? I know we've talked about doing this. It's kind of hard, isn't it? It's a challenge.
It's better in the sense that I think we're going to have a better shot at completing it this year because we talk about it every week and we've got accountability from each other in our small group. Our group isn't fantastic at finishing books, but we're bound and determined to try and do this one.
How about for you personally? In reading the one-year Bible, what did it do for you? What's it doing for you personally?
On the mornings that I actually accomplish it when I get up, it changes the tenure of my day. I'm thinking about, what I read and how I can apply that to my daily life.
Yeah. So we challenge you, don't give up, don't quit. And Dom, you haven't exactly been perfect every day, right?
That is correct.
But you're sticking with it. You're going to figure this out.
I am. And then, some days I'll read 2 or 3 days worth and get caught up if I've missed it. But I'm determined to get through the whole thing.
Okay, so don't quit. Don't quit on us. Now, today's reading, March 1, we're talking about a lot of things. I really enjoyed Genesis. I enjoyed Exodus. Now we're in Leviticus 24. But surprisingly, there's kind of some interesting stuff in here, isn't there? The start thing that stood out to me, and I'll let you've got something that stood out to you, but it says, bring oil and keep the light burning. Now, that's interesting to me. They had to keep a candle burning 24 hours a day, and it was all with oil that was pressed and brought to them as a part of the offerings of the day.
How many years did they do this for, Dan?
Well, it says until the temple was destroyed.
Right. So how long was that?
Oh, you're going to ask me that. I don't know. Someone that's watching right now, you just chime in and put in the notes there. I don't know what it is. It had to be 300 or 400 years.
Yeah, exactly.
It had to be 300 or 400
It's a long
years.
time to burn a light.
Now, the other thing they did is they brought a loaf of bread, not just any loaf of bread. These were big loaves of bread, 4 quarts of flour to make. Now, that's something neither one of us know either. So if you're watching, put in the notes, would you? How big a loaf is 4 quarts of flour? We have that question in our mind, but 12 of those, and the priest got to eat them. Now, I don't know about you, but if I ate 12 loaves of bread every week,
I can't imagine they were very skinny.
It's not a good thing. And then the punishment that took place, it's kind of interesting. We talk about, here it says, this is where you've heard the eye for the eye, tooth for a tooth, injury for an injury. That's the punishment system. And then it's either that or it's death penalty. How did that hit you, Dom?
It makes me think that if we still had that in place, there'd probably be a lot less people taking the Lord's name in vain. I'm not sure I'd even still be alive.
Yeah,
so.
Well, the question, as I looked at all their death penalty stuff, I don't think many people would still be alive. I'm glad they didn't do that. I'm glad Jesus brought in some grace in all of this, but these laws are really, really strict. I do want to say this. Some people misunderstand the reasoning and why they're doing certain things. They're traveling from place to place, so they don't have a jail to put people in. There's no traveling jail that they can keep people. So you either got a little slap on the wrist or
you sleep with the fish.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Now, this is where we get to the fun part. In Leviticus chapter 25, the whole chapter is about real estate. You're a real estate agent. What is this? How does it hit you? I mean, tell me about what you thought.
So one of the first things that struck me as funny on this is, what if I sell you a house and you sign up for a 30-year mortgage and you bought that in year 20? So basically you pay for 30 years and in year 50, you're giving it back to whoever you bought it from. I would think that would suck. That'd be a tough one.
It's a tough sell, isn't it? Yeah. In fact, I thought it was interesting. They had a sliding price scale. It said you got to figure out what the price is based on the year of Jubilee.
Well, and how many years are left. Yeah.
Right.
Basically, it's a more like a lease than a sale, probably.
It really is. And I thought that was interesting. In verse 23, it says, a land must never be sold on a permanent basis. The land belongs to who? God. And you're just tenant farmers working the land for me. That's just an interesting concept. And really, it's kind of a good concept, isn't it? That God's supposed to own everything that we have. And we're really just tenant farmers. We're taking care of what we have. Just a good
It's
reminder.
a good perspective for us to keep. I just have to wonder out loud, when did this stop? When did this stop happening?
Well,
I mean, obviously, it's not occurring in current day in our times.
And it didn't even last very long in those days. They just didn't necessarily follow this all the way. If they would have followed it, there was tons of blessings. This would have really worked, but they didn't follow it very long.
Well,
Hey,
and
how
think about that. You work hard for 6 years, right? And then
Yeah.
you get to take the 7th year off, and the Lord's going to bless you with enough food in the 6th year that you just get to rest on your laurels the 7th. I've never taken a year off. I'm going to be 50 this year, right? So
Yeah.
this is my Jubilee, and I haven't had 7
Hey,
years
this
off.
is your Jubilee.
So,
That's
yeah.
awesome. That's a great year. Well,
Well, it is if I get it off.
well,
You're going
Are you
to take care of me?
I'll take care of you. You take it off. There was another interesting thing that it talked about not charging poor people interest. And they had a way to help people come back from poverty by lending to them and then not charging them interest. I think that's interesting. And they still do that to this day, by the way. A lot of Jewish communities have a fund that they lend to people in poverty.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So there's one more section here that really stood out to me. I think it did to you. It's a conversation that Jesus had with a rich man. Now, you and I, Dom, are rich guys.
Yes, because we have houses for our cars.
Yeah. Houses for our cars. That means we're in the top 5% of the world.
Yeah.
And so Jesus said it's really hard for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. Why do you think that is? What is it? I mean, not only are we rich guys, but we hang out with some rich guys, right?
Yeah, we do. That's an interesting one. Is it because of the security that we think that it gives us, this false security that if we have a bank account or if we pay that mortgage every month, that we're going to be guaranteed to have somewhere warm to sleep, and that here in this country, people for the most part, don't let us go hungry if something happens. Maybe it's that. Maybe that we've, maybe we've learned to rely on ourselves more than on the Lord.
And I think that really is what it amounts to. As I look at this, and many of us are rich, you're rich, we're all rich. Everyone that's listening here really falls in the rich category. And the tendency is for us to put our faith in money versus our faith in God. People that have nothing can only put their faith in God.
Yeah.
And we have a tendency to put our faith in our house, put our faith in our government, put our faith in our currency, put our faith, and all that's
Put
kind
our
of
faith
shaky.
in a mask, even.
Right? Yeah, in a mask or
How
whatever.
crazy is that?
Yeah. So all of that is just the way it is, and it is a temptation to put your faith in something other than God. I love what Jesus said. It seems impossible for man, but nothing's impossible with God. So even rich people are going to make it. Now, Psalms, you've been reading Psalms all along, and this one isn't, I don't think, a very good psalm. But what's your impression of David? Just to kind of talk about it in general.
We talked about this last week at our small group. My impression is that he's a little whiny in these Psalms. So,
And I said, the more I read the Psalms, the more I appreciate the Psalms, because it's kind of his up and down. And today is kind of a downer. And so his emotionals is down. Now, there's one last.
he had so much going for him, and he screwed it up himself. So
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of empathy for him. I'm light in that department.
Yeah.
Although if I sat here and tried to put my life into a song, it'd probably sound a little whiny too. So who knows?
Okay. Little country song. Is
Yeah,
this like
exactly.
country music?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Maybe that's what it is. There's one last thing. The Psalms that we end with here says, the words of the godly encourage many, but fools are destroyed by their lack of common sense. I think about how powerful. So think about this. How do you use your words for good every day, Dom?
I try and use them for good with my family, my kids, and my wife. Also with my employees, right?
Yeah.
I'm more careful than some with my words because I understand how much
Words?
damage they can do.
Words are really powerful. Well, hey, thank you for joining us today. These are just our thoughts. You have your thoughts and questions. Make sure you talk with someone. Be in a group. And that's what we're doing. We're in a group. We're talking together. And we encourage you to do it. Again, thanks for joining us. Hope you enjoyed today's GC 365.